Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters in Islam. Welcome to another episode of Roots and Route, the African Islamic Tapestry. Today, inshallah, we are diving into a topic that I believe will resonate with many young Muslims around the world, which we have described as the challenges and hopes of young Muslims in the modern world. We know that the journey of faith is unique to each individual, but for some, especially the youth, the path can be filled with obstacles, be it societal pressures, lack of time, or simply the feeling of being overwhelmed. So, in this episode, inshallah, we have a special guest, a young Muslim who is also on a journey, like every one of us, to strengthening his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala despite the challenges. So, we will discuss his experiences, we'll explore the challenges, and talk about what can be done to support our youth in practicing their faith more fully. Without further ado, inshallah, let's dive straight into the conversation. Assalamu alaikum, Ridwan.
Walaikum salam.
How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Yeah, feeling good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you very much for joining this conversation. It's really appreciated.
Of course, no problem.
To start with, Ridwan, how is your Islam?
So I would say at the moment I'm going through a journey. I would say it's a journey that's very inconsistent. There's ups and downs where I'm consistent with Islam. Sometimes I might fall out and come back in. So I'm at a stage right now where I have the knowledge, I have access to the knowledge as well. So again, I know right from wrong. So it's more so kind of focusing on zoning in, getting consistent with everything, including my prayers, how I act on a day-to-day basis. So it's it's a inconsistent journey, I would say right now.
So, do you think your background played into the your relationship with Islam? Would you say? I mean, tell us a bit about yourself. Like maybe that can help us to understand why you're very inconsistent in your journey at the minute.
Yeah, so I was born in Ireland. I have Nigerian parents, so I grew up in Ireland all of my life. Been to Nigeria a couple of times. So yeah, I went to a Catholic school, primary and secondary school. College as well wasn't really a religious college, but it was predominantly filled with Christians. Um, so yeah, that definitely would have played a part into how I would have looked at Islam. But then I also did come with two parents who are Muslims, so that also played a big factor. My extended family as well, my aunts, uncles, they're all Muslims as well. So it's kind of been like I've been almost jumping into two lives almost,
And that
I
can be
would say.
confusing at times, I'd say.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of influence on how I act and when I'm outside or when I'm at home. So it's kind of like a conflict between the two of those.
So, tell me, what aspect of Islam do you feel most connected to, and which one of it do you find challenging to practice?
Okay, so what do I feel most connected with? I would say just my faith in God. Like I truly believe that there's a God, truly believe that there is heaven, there is hell, and you are to live a life that is to please God. So I think that's where I feel the most connected. I don't know if you can relate, but there's certain times where something bad might happen and you might think like, oh God, I wish I wasn't in this situation. I wish it didn't happen. This didn't happen. But I kind of look at it as like almost every day, nothing bad happens. And it's like, I don't even appreciate that. It's only if something bad is, I'm thinking like, oh, why did this happen? I wish this could happen. So it's something I'm very grateful when I wake up. I say thank you to God every day. My family is all healthy. So I think my true belief in God is the thing I feel most connected with. It's something I feel very secure. When I pray 5 times a day, at the end of the day, I go to bed, I feel at peace. So I think that's where I would feel most secure in terms of Islam. What I find difficult is the consistency. So it could be, for example, praying. I might be working or I might be traveling. I might be around different people. And then also like the lifestyle I'm supposed to live. Sometimes I might not be in an environment where I should be practicing what I should be, So I think the environment that trying to live a strict Muslim life, is something that can be challenging at times because of the environment I'm in. So I'd say that would be what I find most challenging.
So let's get it clear. The environment you find yourself or the environment you allow yourself to be in. Like there are two things. There are things we don't have control over. Like
Yeah.
you didn't choose to be born here. That's one thing. But then the environment you find yourself, that then Salah becomes impossible or Salah becomes something like of a burden. Is that something you would consider out of your control? Something that you feel it's just difficult to just kind of not do these things. Like, do you think you have power over the things that are causing inconsistency in your practice of Islam?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I have control of everything that goes on in my life. So if I put myself in a situation where it might be difficult for me to pray, it's down to me essentially. Like, I can't blame anybody for it, but it's the environment I put myself in, which again makes it difficult for me. It might be harder for me to pray because I might be out. Um, I might not be at home. I might not want to pray where I am, or those sort of reasons. So again, it's down to me not making enough effort. So yeah, I would say it is within my control. Yeah.
So do you think that the societal pressure or the expectation of people or you know the people you hang with or the places you go, that kind of pressure influenced your practice? Like, that sounds to me like that's what you're saying, but is that what you're saying? Like, do you think it's a
Um,
societal pressure? Like, would you feel somehow amazed to your friend or when you're with your friends and you're like, look, I just need to go pray, or the whole place is not just like you just couldn't find a quiet place to pray? Is that
I would say societal pressure. I would say yes and no. I would say yes in the past previously. I think if I take back to when I was younger, um, people who you see on TV or online, they all have influences on you. So I would say when I was younger, like many years ago, I wouldn't want to I wouldn't be open about being Muslim. Like I would never ever broadcast that I was Muslim. I wouldn't post on my story that I'm Muslim. Um, and that's just the way it was. I think when you're younger, you're easily influenced by it. So let's say when I was just gone to secondary school, it's almost like you want to be the cool kid. You want to fit in with everybody. So everybody around me was predominantly Christian or Catholic. So it's like to be a Muslim, it's like I'm almost like an outsider. So I would never ever make that I would never make that publicly known that I was Muslim. Um I think with age that changes. As I've gotten older, as I've gone to understand God more, I'm now very open to my religion. If it's Eid, I post on my story, it's Eid, etc. Like it's very known that I'm Muslim to my friends, etc. And a lot of my friends are Muslims now. Like my closer friends, they're all Muslims. So when saying me staying with my friends, does that affect how I pray? I would disagree that there's pressure from them. I don't feel uncomfortable to pray around them. I prayed with them. However, it just might be like where I am, I might not be able to pray in that area. So I think pressure is definitely a big thing for a lot of people, especially when you're younger. But for me, I wouldn't say so as much now.
hmm. So? How do you think you can balance your faith with everything that's going on? Definitely, the fact that someone is not Muslim doesn't make them a bad person. They're good people who are not Muslim. So it's
Yeah,
not because they're bad. That's why they're not Muslim. So, and you don't have to, necessarily unfriend them because
yeah.
they are not the ones stopping you from praying. So then, in your opinion, how do you think you can balance your faith with, with everything that's going on? What do you think you can do?
Definitely think I can balance it. I think it's the main issue is laziness on my side. Maybe being lazy to pray, or if I get home I might be lazy to make multiple prayers at once, and it's something it's just not good enough. It's not the life that I should be living. So it's more so a thing of I need to be more disciplined in my faith and in my practice of that faith. Um, yes, there's certain times where I might not need to go out, and I go out knowing that it's going to affect how I pray in that day. So definitely, it's a thing where I either need to eliminate those things or I need to be able to do those things and be disciplined enough to, when I get back home, I know this needs to be done. So I think discipline is the biggest thing for me. The older you are, the harder it is to be disciplined and to kind of implement new things. So not that I'm that old or anything, but I just feel if you started when you're younger, it's easier for you. So I think it's the onus is on me to be more disciplined and to force myself to do these things.
But I beg to disagree with that notion because I think the more you get older, yes, it might be difficult to go learn certain things, but I feel the older you get, the more control you have, and then the more disciplined you can be. Just making reference to what you said earlier around, being comfortable calling yourself Muslim or identifying as Muslim when you're younger,
Yeah,
but now you're older, you're more confident. So that
yeah,
means you have more control. So being older, I think it should be a benefit. And you can say no without feeling regret. You can say, okay, I'm not going out today. This is what I want to do. So do you think your level of of course you've agreed to the fact that the inconsistency need a bit of discipline? Do you think is hypocritical on your part that you take some things very seriously, that you can plan for maybe your tests coming up in college, you have a lot of stuff coming on, and maybe even your holidays, you plan them, booked hotel, do everything, like the logistics were well handled. But when it comes to Islam, you just want it to stay in your heart and be like, I know I love God and God knows I believed in him, but what you've asked me to do, ya Allah, I'm just a little bit tired right now. Like, do you think that's hypocritical? Do you think your level of faith is equal to the amount of action you are putting into it?
yeah. I would say I wouldn't say hypocritical, but I would agree with when you say like the level of faith um doesn't correlate to the energy I might spend in things like planning holidays or going out, etc. So I would agree with that. Again, it's how would I say it's a hard one to explain. Again, it's I know what I'm doing isn't correct. You know, I just it's just laziness really. I think it's almost the fact that there's no immediate um benefit or consequence is what makes me so like eased off. Like for example, if you have an exam, you might not study all year, even though you know you should be, but come close to the exam, you might do overtime. You might be studying from night to day because you know tomorrow this is going to happen. There's an immediate consequence. So I think that plays a part in, like, let's say prayers, etc. There's no immediate repercussion, so that's why you typically tend to ease off. So again, it's a discipline thing. It's something that's on me that I need to do better. But I would say that's the biggest factor in it because there's no
Mm,
immediate like result from it.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, and I totally agree with you. And that's, I tell you, that's the test of faith.
Yeah,
Because no one is punishing you immediately, and no one is rewarding you immediately, and that's where the test of faith comes in. Like, you
yeah,
don't have to, like, and
yeah,
then do you do it? Then that what makes you qualify for either a punishment or a reward, because there's no one chasing you with a gun or saying you have to pray now and all that. So see, that's where the intent and the quality of the faith comes in. You doing what you have to do when no one is chasing, or when no one is kind of standing on your case, so to speak. So I
yeah,
totally agree with you. I think, and it's not just youngsters that suffers from that. I think even the older ones sometimes um, would tend to put things in the back burner because of the fact that there isn't going to be an immediate repercussion for that, and not just on religious aspect alone. Even life matters. Sometimes you get to postpone and procrastinate because, like, I can still get it done, that kind of a thing. So that, I
yeah.
totally agree with you. So, so are there any particular Islamic practices, or teachings that you struggle with? Like, I know you said Salah is inconsistent, but is there any other,
Yeah.
like, what other things, like there's Quran, there's Azkar, there's other things, like what other ones do you struggle with?
Yeah, so as I said, Salaz is it's a big one.
Mm,
That's very inconsistent. And other things might be like music, let's say. Sometimes there's music that we shouldn't listen to, but I think it's really the way like we grow up. We're surrounded by music. Now we've gotten a certain attachment to music. I like this type of music. It might not be the best teachings in the music, but just the way you might feel from the music. Um, I think that's one. Um, One that I previously struggled with, not so much now, would be celebrations. So like celebrations of like Christmas. I remember when I was younger, I used to be so disappointed, so disappointed at Christmas, man. I didn't get any presents. Then going into school, you hear all the kids talking about, oh, Santa brought this, Santa brought that. So I think that's another one that it did used to give me a lot of bother, but as I've gone older, not so much. And then another thing, it's the way we live. It's very normal to have like, for example, it could be with a certain group of friends. It's very easy for me to have a conversation and talk about what, for example, what Jeff did yesterday or Jenny did the day before. Like it's very normal, or even to make jokes about it. And at the end of the day, it's in our heart, it's harmless because we don't see it as anything wrong because we're not actually insulting the person. But from an Islamic point of view, it is wrong. You shouldn't be backbiting. You shouldn't say something about someone that they wouldn't want you to say about them behind them. You know, so I think that's a big one, and it's something I try and remind myself. I often find myself caught in those type of conversations where we're speaking about other people, and it's like, so you know it's bad, but it's such a normal thing to happen in this side of the world, anyways. So I
Yeah.
think that's a big challenge, because that's like just little sins you pick up subconsciously, you don't
Mm,
even know you're doing. So
mm,
I think that's probably one of the biggest ones because it's just so easy to come into play.
mm.
So yeah, I would say between Salah celebrations and things like speaking of other people behind their back would be the biggest challenges. Yeah.
And music.
Music as well, yeah. You can't forget that, yeah.
Now,
Music.
we've identified a lot of problems.
Mm,
As someone who have, identified this problem by yourself or these problems by yourself, what are you doing to resolve them? Identifying them is you just being sincere, being saying, look, I know there are things I need to fix, but are you doing anything to fix them?
yeah. Um, in terms of music, I wouldn't say I have anything in place currently. To be honest, celebrations, I've kind of gotten over that, gotten to an understanding. But in terms of things like speaking on people behind their back, it's something that it can easily happen by unintentionally. But I do try and correct myself at times and be like, I need to stay away from these sort of conversations, you know. But it's something that again I'm working on, and I do make a conscious effort every once in a while. Like I would reflect back and think, damn, like almost every Friday is almost like a reminder because you hear every Friday in Juma, don't not to be backbiting. So it's almost like a reminder that keeps you in check. You might fall back off, but I think the conscious effort is being made. So um, there's still a lot to improve on though.
Yeah. So what about Salah?
Salah, yeah. Again, Friday is like the best day. It's almost like okay, might have had a bad couple of days during the week. Friday is almost like a reset, but it's a journey that it's very stagnant. Like it's not kind of going upwards right now. It's very like slowly ascending. So again, the conscious effort just needs to be made by myself. But it's really just an effort thing. Really. So. It's
Yeah.
like I almost need like a wake up, like to just reset. You
Do
know,
you read the Quran or do you listen to the Quran?
I would listen to it more. Say, I wouldn't actively like open the Quran and listen to it or look it up, but I would typically see on like TikTok or Instagrams. I have some people that I follow. A lot of the things I would listen to more so. I listen to a lot of Islamic debates. Sometimes I might listen to um, Christians against Muslims. I find those interesting and entertaining as well. So I might listen to people like Muhammad Hijab, um, and there's a few others that I listen to that they always have great debates. So that would kind of be like where any new information is typically from social media rather from opening a book, let's say, or directly looking it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. So yeah, that's probably one of the aspects you need to work on. I'd say.
definitely, yeah.
Actually, yeah. Okay. So, what role would you say your family and community play in your religious practices? Are they do they provide any support, or are they just adding pressure for you?
Yeah, I would say a bit of both. Definitely a lot of support. 100% a lot of support. They always try and encourage, whether it's my mother, my father, my aunts, uncles, wherever I am. Um, they always try and support, always remind me, stay on top of your prayers, read your Quran. I would have felt a lot of pressure when I was younger. Um, that would have been back when I was learning the Quran, learning Surah. Um, Back then, it almost would have felt like a chore to do back then. It was almost like, okay, let me just do this so I can be free for the rest of the day and no one's bothering me. So that was the feeling when I was younger. Looking back at it now, it's so beneficial because if I didn't do that, I think I'd be very far gone if it wasn't for that. So again, I'm extremely grateful for my family for assisting me with that. But I would say there was pressure then. I don't know if it's the African teacher, but there's always a lot of pressure like get this right, get this right, get this right. And again, like the results are there, so it did work, but it did feel like a chore. So luckily the way it panned out for me, as I got older, I got to understand a lot more of the Quran because it was more so like you were just learning Arabic. You didn't know what you were saying or what it meant. So as I got older, I looked into the meanings, and it was because of my family. They all advised me, now, like you have a certain amount of knowledge, look into the meaning. So once I got to actually understand what these words meant, it made it a lot easier for me now to like, and now I can be grateful for what I've learned. You know.
Yeah,
So yeah, I definitely would say that there was pressure, but there definitely was a lot of support, which worked out for me.
good, good. So do you think the support is still there, or people are just kind of letting you be now because you're now like, you're an adult now, and then the pressure kind of ease off because no one's gonna compel you to do stuff. But
Yeah.
what does it feel like now?
Yeah, like I'm of the age now where I'm my own man now. So it's more so advice or reminders, but there's definitely no pressure anymore. So everything is kind of on me, but I have a very good base around me where I can ask any questions and there's always someone there that can answer. So it's like they've given me all the training I need. I have all the steps. Now I need to implement it myself. So I'm lucky to have good support around me because I always have friends as well. I have friends that are very knowledgeable as well. So I have a good base around me. But yeah, it's definitely all on me now. It's more so support rather than any pressure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So now, modern culture and Islamic values.
Yeah.
Do you think there are correlations, or it's just conflicts? Like, what do you think?
I think it's conflict, like a lot of conflicts. Like it's something I learned in criminology. Like um criminologist, I think it's Carl Bentham. He said we're all hedonistic creatures, so we're all in the pursuit of happiness. So it's almost a thing where we almost weigh the happiness, the good and the bad, and if the good outweighs what the potential consequence might be, we're always going to go for the good. So I think that's kind of come into play now, where it's like if we look at how life would have been like hundreds of years ago, it was Catholic oriented here. A lot of Catholics, very religious, everything, the church ran everything. Now that's completely gone. It's like you do what you want to do. As since because there's no instant repercussion, so let's use God as an example. God is not going to typically punish us immediately. So because of that, there's no almost negative repercussions. So we're always going to do what makes us happy, and this could be partying every night, getting drunk, doing drugs, etc. We get the fun out of them, and we know there's no negative consequence. So that's why we're going to do it. So I think modern society is very like far gone from an Islamic teaching. Like the way a lot of stuff is set up, it's
Is
so far gone.
is that really true though? Like, when you engage in these things that's called fun, say maybe drugs or partying at nights and all the time, do you really believe there are no even societal consequences? Let's put spiritual consequences apart now. Do you really think that maybe that's not going to be a societal consequences, or even health consequences with with such lifestyle, or is it because those consequences doesn't come immediately?
Yeah, it's almost like what I said. Like we all kind of want to get that immediate buzz, that happiness. So like it's fun going out and going partying, going crazy, etc. So it's like you kind of look at the immediate gain you get from it without focusing on the long term negatives. So like if you're taking drugs every week, etc., it's gonna be fun for the next few years. 30 years down the line, you're going to see the consequences of it. So I think that's everyone's. A lot of people. Let me say it, not say everyone. A lot of people are just kind of in the immediate pursuit of happiness. So whatever makes them fun, they're going to look at it without looking at the consequences per se, unless it's an immediate consequence.
Mm.
So that's kind of how I would look at it. Yeah.
So have you ever felt judged or misunderstood with the way you carry yourself as Muslims? I mean, as Muslims, sorry.
Um, in terms of just in general in society.
Yeah, in society, be like, have you ever seen another Muslim? I mean, have you ever come across another Muslim and say, look, Ridwan, why are you like this? Why are you like felt judged or misunderstood? Like somebody saying a good Muslim or a proper Muslim,
Yeah.
from whatever perspective, maybe through dressing or the way you carry yourself or the things you do and say. Have you ever felt judged?
Yeah, judged. I don't know if I would use the word judged. I would say definitely felt embarrassed, pressured almost in a way, like definitely like for example, let's say someone might ask me, oh, have you prayed? And it's like no, and then they go on to like a speech or whatever. That's how you should pray. It's like I wouldn't say I'm being judged, but you feel that embarrassment in you, so you would kind of feel a bit of pressure there. And that's from a Muslim point of view. From a non-Muslim person, I wouldn't say directly, but I've definitely seen it online. I've seen like posts about people online, or how people kind of look at Muslims like and dislike Muslims. So personally, I wouldn't say judged because I don't see it as someone judging me if someone kind of addresses something I'm doing wrong. More see it as advice, but I still might feel embarrassed about it. So that's the way I would more so look at it. Yeah.
If you get advice from someone who felt, okay, I should say something to Ridwan because of what I observed. I know you said you will feel embarrassed, but would you feel from the bottom of your heart like is he or she is actually saying the truth, or why can't he just shut up? At least I know what I'm doing. I know, yeah, I messed up, but I can fix things myself. Like, what do you feel? Do you think people overdo things?
I think sometimes it can be overdone, definitely. But in the back of my head, I do truly know, like, typically if that does happen, it's from someone that's close enough to me, so I know that they definitely don't have any bad intentions behind it. Sometimes I feel like it could go a bit deeper than it might need to be, but obviously they have their own perspective, so that's how they see it. But sometimes I think it might be too deep, but I'll never see it as anything bad because I know they genuinely have good intentions behind that. So I wouldn't completely regard it as negative, do you know?
Mm, mm. So, what kind of resources or support do you think would help you and other Muslims in your situation to strengthen, their faith and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
I think we have if I'm being honest, I think we have the resources in place. I think it's just about developing them. Um if I was to look at when I was in secondary school like years ago, um I was never going to see any Islamic teaching on Facebook, on Instagram. I wasn't seeing any of that. Fast forward many years later, like I see a lot of it now. So I think we have the tools to reach like the masses. Um I just think it's about developing them. Like there's a lot of scholars online like Muhammad Hijab, Abu Temi, like there's a lot of people that we see influencers almost that are Muslims, football players, they're very open with their religion. So I think we have the tools in place to promote the religion. And I think that's why it's the fastest growing religion on the planet right now. So yeah, I think the tools are there. It's just about more so growing those tools to reach even more people.
Yeah, but do you
Um,
think it's been utilized enough by the people? Like, if the resources are there, back in the day, there wouldn't be the Quran on the phone, there wouldn't be all these,
yeah,
videos you see on TikTok and Instagram and everything. But now it's as if the more information we have, the more, unaware we become. In a way, like we then kind of peak 1 minute, 2 minute kind of nuggets online, and then some of these things sometimes could be misleading. Some of
yeah,
the teachings, you don't know the source of the information, you don't know how correct that information is, and
yeah.
then you just take it because that's where you take your knowledge from. So do you think there should be more work to be done on our path as Muslims to have these quality education of Islam before we throw ourselves into the wilderness of knowledge where everybody just says what they like, and then because my fear or my concern is that if I don't know right from wrong and I just put myself out there, to consuming everything on the internet, I won't be able to then make a distinction between what I believe is right, that is in alignment with the Sunnah and the Quran, and what somebody who is just getting emotional saying online. Do you not think there should be quality resource and effort on our own part as Muslims to get grounded in Islam? Like, do you think that's there now, or that's it's there, or it's fading away because of the amount of information we have online now?
Yeah, so the way I would look at that is like even apps like Twitter, if you put something out that's incorrect in Twitter, there might be like a little, I don't know what to call it, but there's a little message underneath that says that kind of verifies the source. It might say like it might be incorrect. So we have measures there in Twitter. In terms of the quality of information out there, from what I've seen personally, I don't think there's a lot of misinformation out there when it's coming from the right people. Like obviously there definitely is wrong information out there. But I think when you look at people who have like verified accounts, typically their information tends to check out. So I personally think that there's a lot of correct information out there. I think Islam is a very respected religion, so I don't think it's not easy to get away with putting out misinformation there. So I think there is safeguards in place. Definitely could be better. Um, it could definitely improve. But from my own experience myself, I think there is. Would you say there's not, or how do you feel about that yourself?
I feel like I said, I feel there are good information out there, but I feel there are people who also get emotional about Islam,
Yeah,
and then they
yeah,
just over pump things or over hype things. I saw a video online the other day when someone who I believe intended to say that if you have certain sins, like maybe, some bad stuff that I'm very not comfortable saying here, that if
yeah.
you commit those things that you pray, you are better in the sight of Allah than somebody who doesn't pray at all. So, a non-Muslim or a nominal Muslim will listen to that and be like, okay, I can still do this bad stuff, like, I mean, criminal stuff, that are really, really bad.
Oh,
That you
okay,
could be locked
okay.
away for forever. You could even be killed if
Yeah,
you do those things. And then are you saying if I do those things and I still pray that I'm okay in the sight of Allah, you know, compared to somebody who doesn't do those things but still does not pray? That's
yeah.
somebody just getting emotional. And that brother has, come online and says a lot of beneficial things. But if I don't know what I know, if I don't know the verse of the Quran that says your salah is supposed to make you better and go away from bad deeds and stuff like that, I would have believed him and be like, okay, I can still be, that kind of a thing. And as long as I pray, then I'm okay. That kind of information. Even like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier that a verified status, it's not just about, a verified account. It's about, like the brother I mentioned, he has a lot of quality information, quality knowledge, from him. But that very specific video that day, he just got emotional and started saying things, and then you want to wonder, what's the point of your salah if it doesn't make you better? If you're saying someone who do drugs, who do the R thing to the kid, and then who do the M word to the people, then that person, if he prays, is better in front of Allah than someone who doesn't pray. So
Yeah.
that kind of information would worry me. So I would want to have, you know, someone some sort of knowledge that is stable, because you have to be grounded in a way before you expose yourself to that kind of information. Imagine somebody who doesn't know his left hand from right as a Muslim hear that thing and be like, okay, I can still pray and then go out every Friday. I can still pray and then do everything I want to do because at least
Yeah,
in front of Allah, I'm good. You know what I mean? So, and
yeah,
I know what he wants to say based on what the scholars have said over the years is that do not let Shaitan trick you twice. If Shaitan has tricked you to committing a sin, don't let it trick you from coming back to Allah to ask for forgiveness. Because don't
yeah,
don't feel too dirty that I just did this bad thing. Why should I go in front of Allah like this? No, don't let Shaitan do that to you. Come back.
yeah,
You understand? So don't, irrespective of what you have done as a sin or what you've committed as a sin, still come back to Salah. Don't let it be the reason you stop praying. That should have
yeah,
been the information, not saying do those things, you're okay as long as you pray. No, your Salah is supposed to stop you from doing those things. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
this is a qualified somebody who has been online for forever. I was been given right information, but that moment he got emotional and said something wrong. What I believe,
yeah,
and the Christians were kind of retweeting it, and then I actually somebody sent it to me,
yeah,
via Twitter. So that kind of a
yeah,
thing. That's what I'm saying. So, I
yeah. It is very easy for people to kind of get emotional, and then almost the media can almost run with it. But again, the way I see it's when you have an open space like social media, it's very hard to safeguard that and like to prevent something like that because you either allow people to say whatever they want to say, so freedom of speech, or it almost becomes like a dictatorship where it's like everyone is limited from saying what they can say.
mm,
So that's bit. It's going to be hard to come with a solution for that.
uh,
I would think.
in my opinion, now let me
Yeah.
ask you: would you commit to a learning path with an institution or with a scholar and say, look, this is my source, you know, and then you get grounded in a way and learn the deen from that source before, and then you can take other things from outside, but at least you have a source where you can check the validity of whatever it is that's flying around on the internet. Like, because if you expose yourself, you're almost like you become like a dumping ground where people just dump information. And because they say Allah says, because they say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said,
Yeah.
you just tend to take it, and then you probably will be doing the wrong thing. So would you, let me ask you, would you commit to an institution to get grounded in the knowledge of Islam, or are you just comfortable with just speaking it online because
No,
it's
I
easy?
I commit to the institution, but I the way I see it's like I'm also looking at for a perspective where to almost bring people in, it's gonna need to be easier for them. So through the social media is the easiest way to kind of get people in. So if we're gonna get people in that way, there's also going to be the risk where there can be misinformation. Now, it would be perfect if we could have like, let's say, a verified Islamic page, and we
Mm,
know all of this is correct, but it's going to be harder for that to reach the masses.
mm,
So sometimes, no, I do completely agree with you. Like, it would be better to have like a certified like institution where people can learn from. But
mm.
just in terms of like putting it on social media, what I don't agree with, obviously, I don't agree with the message that was said. There's always going to be the risk when we use social media for misinformation to be spread. So it's kind of something that it's a problem that we'll need to deal with,
Yeah,
you know?
look, we are here now talking about this, hoping that this conversation would benefit somebody who listen to it, who kind of resonate
Yeah,
with your story. So that's one of the advantage and benefit of this social media and everything. And I do not in any way say it's wrong. It's fantastic. It's good. But I just
yeah,
feel like, see all those like Mohammed Ijab that you mentioned, like, you
yeah,
know, you can have people that are checked, that are, good, and then just follow them online, and then
yeah,
in a way just kind of zone in on the quality of material that you consume. Like, instead of going on to For You page, just go to the people you follow and then look
yeah,
at what they post, and then you reduce the noise, of other people kind of filtering through into your mind. You know what I mean? So in a
yeah,
way, that's the way I see it. Well, look, it's not going to be done in one day, but I just thought,
yeah,
with a benefit, there's a lot of risk and challenges with young Muslims like yourself who
yeah,
maybe challenged with time, society pressure, and just want to quickly catch the knowledge on the run and then just fly with it.
yeah,
So we have to check the authenticity of the source where
yeah,
the thing
no,
is coming from,
definitely.
so to speak.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
100%.
So, do you feel that there are enough role models or mentors for young Muslims today? I know you mentioned a couple of people there that you follow online, but do you think
Yeah.
there are good numbers, or do you think we're still missing something?
I think there's good numbers, but we're missing them in the sense of their availability. I would say for people who aren't in the Muslim community, I truly believe that if you are a Muslim, there will always be Muslims around it who you can go to. If you went to your local mosque, you'll be able to find an imam who can advise you on a number of stuff. So I think they are role models. If I was to look at it from the perspective of in terms of the religion growing, I wouldn't. I'd say that there's not enough publicly known is what I would say there. So it's like if there was a Christian who wasn't friends with Muslims, it would be a lot harder for him to find somebody to go to compared to an actual Muslims. You know where your mosque is. But if we're looking at it from just being a Muslim, I definitely think there's enough role models. I have enough role models around me. I can always get answers if I pick up the phone, and I can look it up online as well. So there is, I would say there is enough role models for Muslims. Yeah. Would you agree? Or
Yes, I think
not
there are
really?
no, there are multitudes. See, there's this thing about Islam that, as a Muslim, sometimes you have to check your intentions, and then you have to balance your intention with the things you do. And sometimes people who started out with pure intention, who just want to worship Allah and just be beneficial to people, and
Mhm.
then they get public, and then people praises that started getting into their heads, and then they become someone else. Or people criticism gets into their head and they become something else. There are fantastic scholars, like good people who wouldn't even like me. Some of them have social media accounts, but they probably have like 100 or 200 followers. They're there.
Yeah.
They're there. It's just we being able to, because most of them, quote unquote, are boring. They're not.
Yeah. That's it.
They
They don't have that personality, that social media
so
persona. Yeah.
yeah, which is not even required if you really are interested in the message, really,
Yeah.
Redwan. Like it's not about doing what's trending. If you really like, there are a lot of courses you take or you took while you were in school that you didn't like, but you had to endure that 1 hour or 2 hours lecture because you need it to be able to get your BSc, right? So the
Yeah.
same thing with Islam. There are other things, there are other processes that may be very boring, but that does not take away from the quality of the message. But we tend to follow, that's what's trending. That person has 10,000 or 10 million followers, then that's who I should follow. That loads of authentic scholars, very good people, that has the sound knowledge, but they are not known because they're not
Yeah.
popular. You understand? In my opinion, maybe because of my network, I know that loads of people there. But if you're speaking that there are no enough people, like that means there's more work that needs to be done from
Yeah.
from the community to get these people exposed in a way, and then get them accessible to
Yeah.
people, like you rightly said. So look, I believe there are loads of people, loads of scholars, but it's just that you can't do two things at the same time. If you, they care less about social media. See, these people, they just care about the
Yeah.
day. And, some of them, even their lectures you will find online are one of the ones that their followers just kind of recorded and posted online.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have done it themselves, but because they don't
Yeah.
give a hoot about social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think where the thing is, we making the effort ourselves to seek knowledge, because it's commanded by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that we have to seek knowledge. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also commanded Muslim that you need to find knowledge, even if the knowledge is in China. When he was saying that at the time, the furthest place, or the farthest place to where he was at the time, was China at the time, and it was commanding Muslim that if knowledge is in China, go there, go get the knowledge, because he said knowledge is a lost property of every Muslim, so you should grab it wherever you find it.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of against, in a way, the way we kind of, the way we want to do things now. We just want 1 minute clip on TikTok. We just want 2 minute clips on
Yeah.
Instagram, in a way. So, I mean, that help us, like you rightly said, it has to be easy for people to consume, and it has to be easy for people to follow. But at the same
Yeah.
time, we have to balance the originality and the accessibility, like you rightly said. So I said
Yeah.
yes, the scholars are there, but maybe they are not just about social media kind of scholars. You know what I mean? So, but
Yeah.
then the job is on us to go search for them and probably encourage
Go
them
find.
to come to where people like us can, kind of find them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
No, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about social media and its influence on how we perceive faith and practice faith. Is there any particular example you can give about something you learn about Islam online that's really changed your perspective about Islam?
Okay. What have I learned online? I need to think about that. That's a to pick out one is a tough one. There's definitely a lot of teachings I would learn in terms of a lot of the content I would see is more so reminders almost to like let's say reminders to pray, reminders to teach a lot of different type of prayers. I might learn some different stories as well. Um for example, learning about Prophet Isa could be about the Prophet Moses. I'm not sure what I would say would be the biggest one for me. It's a tough one. There are a couple, but to kind of pin one down, it's
Yeah, yeah, I
maybe I can
understand.
return to at the end. Yeah,
Yeah, that's great, no
maybe it
problem.
might come back to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So now, what advice would you give other young Muslims who are struggling to maintain, their religious practices and like that and look, and don't look at it from like, a condescending perspective. Like we're all on a journey. We're never going to be
Yeah.
perfect. So, but for someone like yourself out there, what advice would you give a struggling young Muslims who is just not seeing the support from the immediate environment? Like, if you come into the Muslim community, like when you come to the Friday Juma, you see, for the fellow Muslims. But when you're outside of that space, like your friends, the people you roll with, like the pressures are there, the challenges are there. What advice would you give young Muslim who are struggling with their religion at the minute?
Okay. So if I was to give someone advice, I think the best thing would just to look at myself and like what helped me the most. So I think the month of Ramadan is very, very important. But I'd say start small. Um, learn how to pray. Learn your surah, and then I think you almost just need to zone in. For me, what helped me the most, like really lock in, was Ramadan. I think when you kind of know Ramadan is coming up, you're very disciplined that month. So, like, pray 5 times a day, be strict on yourself, um, make extra prayers, and then just at the end of the day, just take a moment or two and like think about how you actually feel, because the internal feeling I felt during Ramadan is just peace. Like it was literally peace. It's like you could take a deep breath and like not worry about anything. So I think that was my inspiration into like really believing like and really knowing like yeah, there's definitely a God. So I think that type of peace is like it's a peace you'll never ever feel. So I think what I would say is learn how to pray. Start off small, one prayer a day. Do your morning prayer, build up. But during Ramadan, really like lock in and pray 5 times a day for the whole month. And by the end of the month, the way you would feel, it's like that type of relief. You feel like you don't have any problems at all. So I think that would really like help someone acknowledge that yeah, there's really God once they felt that feeling, and they'll never ever go too far away. So that would be my advice for someone who's trying to get in there.
So the peace you felt during Ramadan,
Yeah,
would you not like to feel the same way outside Ramadan?
definitely. And I think it's a bad thing, but it's something you do whenever there's a problem. Like you remember, it's almost like you just remember like, okay, I can really like get relief from this. If there's exams coming up and you're stressed, if something happened, like um you always go back to God to almost to put you at ease. But it's something that I really need to do on a daily basis, to feel covered. So again, it's a journey that I'm working on, and inshallah, um I'll be able to reach that mark soon.
Is there some slots in your daily routine dedicated for your Islamic rituals? Like,
I
or do
wouldn't
you
say,
just do it if you have the time?
yeah, I'd say the way it is now, it's like, okay, I get the notification to pray. If I'm not doing anything, I'll pray. If I'm doing something, I'll say I'll do it later. And it's that procrastination that kills. Because if they end up building up, that's when I fall off. So again, it's really that discipline, like just getting up and doing it. That's what I really need to get. And it's something I know. And again, I'm not actively doing it, so it's laziness on my side.
So, what do you think can make you do it? Start doing it rather.
Yeah, just
Like,
need to do.
what do you
Or
think will make you stop ignoring the notification, irrespective of what you're doing?
maybe I need a problem in my life. I don't know. It's really just in within me to kind of like be man and just lock in and do what I need to do. So hopefully that day will come very soon.
Yeah,
But it's really on me because I'm the one that's gonna do it. So
yeah. I appreciate the honesty and the fact that you're saying that it's all up to you. But then intentions are good, but then we got rewarded for actions, and then that's always very important for us to remember. And look, we're never going to be perfect until we meet Allah, but the point is where our heart is, and then the way we kind of action the faith we have in us is what really matters. To continue to be better every day. And there will be times you'll be very good, like you're very good during Ramadan. But the goal is, the peace we feel during Ramadan. I keep, it's, and you're not the first person I'm asking that question. Like the peace we feel during Ramadan, do we not like feeling that kind of peace after Ramadan? Why do we stop doing the things we do during Ramadan? Because Ramadan is like a training ground for us on how we're supposed to live the rest of the
yeah,
month. So, if there's anything we've done that made us feel that good, if there anything that we caught off, that we stopped, any kind of discipline that we've, you know, uh, inculcated during Ramadan, that's what we should be doing after Ramadan. And we just have to, be honest with ourselves, and then,
yeah.
may Allah make it easy for us,
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a question for you actually.
Okay.
So let's look at your own journey when you were younger.
Mm.
What was that like in terms of being a Muslim? Were you always in like a strict Muslim household? How was that for you? When did you start consistently praying? And when did you realize, yes, there's a God and I'm a Muslim rather than my parents raised me as Muslim? Or how did that all happen?
Well, that's
So
funny. So, yeah, obviously, I was born into the Muslim family, and my grandma, may Allah bless her soul, she's passed now. She did most of the job. She's the one that will, you know, without we don't even know she couldn't read the Quran, but she's this person that just believe in God and pray, and even
yeah,
though she doesn't, I when I later understand Arabic, I know she doesn't pronounce some of those Arabic letters correctly, but
yeah,
the faith is unmatched. Like she would wake up in the wake up wake us up very early in the morning around 5 a.m. To go to the masjid, and then
okay,
we'll probably cry on our way to the masjid, every day. You don't have a choice, you just have to
yeah,
pray.
I have to go, yeah,
And then maybe we skip the salah during the afternoons because we are not at home, so she can't really
yeah,
tell if we're praying or not. And then when we get back home, have you prayed? Yes, I prayed, even though we haven't prayed.
yeah,
So while we're growing up, it's more like a command and do kind of a thing. Go pray and then go pray. You can't ask question, you can't say you don't
yeah.
do. Even the Arabic classes, there are so many times I will fake sicknesses. I'll be like, grandma, I have headache, I can't. Yeah, I have headache, I can't go to madrasa. And then she has her own kind of response as well that would make me want to like change my mind, be like, okay, I'll have to go. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We were doing that up until when I was in secondary school, and when I got into even during secondary school days, we're just practicing Islam. We're practicing Islam because we're Muslims. I can't really tell. Yeah, I can argue that I'm a Muslim. You can't tell me no, but I can't really
Yeah.
defend Islam, so to speak. That the knowledge wasn't really there. It was just what was
Yeah.
being said at the madrasa. So, but I think the the yoke, so to speak, kind of broke for me when I went to a polytechnic in the Ogun State in Nigeria called the Moshood Abiola Polytechnic. So fortunately for me, I ended up living in a building called Parliament. It was the MSSN Muslim Society Secretariat was
Okay.
in that building as well. So
All right.
because of the fact that I was surrounded by Muslims, I was going to school to just go have fun because that was the first time I'll be out of the home, like out of the
Yeah,
house. No,
exactly. That
no,
freedom.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
no dad, no mom, that kind of a thing. So I was
Yeah.
looking forward to that kind of life, and then I got there, and then as Allah would have it, I just got mixed with the Muslims, and then I became an executive of one of the MSSN, and then when you are an executive, you get responsibilities, and then that was how I just got locked in since then. So that's when the the knowledge then start backing up the practices. That's when I started learning about
Yeah.
Islam because I was just an executive because I happened to be one of the I lived in that building, not because I
Yeah.
qualified because of my knowledge,
Oh,
but because
okay.
I was a student and I
Yeah.
lived in that building. So they made me a Liberian.
All
So
right.
I just started, learning about Islam, started talking about Islam. So that was it for me. And since then, I would say, there's been time that I struggled that even the things I learned back in the day doesn't drop off me because it was struggle back then. Like it's as if like there is no life. Like you just have to do this MSSN thing. But I realized that those are the best years of my life when it comes to, Islamic and spiritual practices because that really trained me. The 2 years I spent in Abeokuta was the best year of my life when it comes to Islamic practices and everything because that was
Yeah.
what really shaped me. And then from there it was just that was just it. And then
Yeah.
we just keep working on ourselves.
From
So
there.
from there,
So
yeah.
around that would have been a time where you would have started to pray consistently,
Yes, yeah,
or
that's
it's kind
right.
of yeah.
Yes, that would say that was when I started realizing there's consequences. Like that's I started become conscious of the consequences of not praying. You
Yeah.
understand? The reason I would pray back in the day would be because grandma is just going to be on my case and then she's probably going to report
Yeah.
me to the malam and probably going to get beaten and all that. It's out
Yeah.
of pressure and fear that someone's just going to deal with me.
Yeah.
But when I become knowledgeable a little bit about Islam, then I started knowing the consequences of not praying. That look, this is not between you and the person that's telling you to pray. It's between you and Allah. And you can always run away from your responsibility, but you cannot run away from the punishment of running away from your responsibility, that kind of a thing. So when I'm
Yeah.
alone, I know even though I'm alone, Allah is there, so I really can't mess up. I try not to mess up. Sometimes I do. So, I go back and say, astaghfirullah, and then we,
Yeah.
we move again, that kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So that's when I started working in a way as a Muslim. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then let's just say someone who's struggling with consistency, what advice would you give them to how to start getting consistent with their prayers?
Today, as a matured family person, I will struggle if I don't have a routine. I struggle during summer holidays when the kids are at home because I really can't get them to do the things we will do on school days. And then that
Mm.
means I wouldn't be able to do the things I need to do. I have a timetable that I have a boss, and that boss is my timetable. Like even though I write it myself or I wrote it myself, I listen to it. I made myself accountable to my timetable. So I
Okay.
don't have to think about what I need to do. I cannot build my timetable around my responsibility as a father, as a husband, as a professional, and as a community builder. So I have all these things built into my timetable. So I don't have to think about them. So you see,
Yeah.
in my opinion, which I believe I worked for so many, is that improvement doesn't is not something you do once in a while, something that you do like a lifestyle. You know what I mean? If I want to get fit, I don't have to go to the gym once in a while. It's going to be something that I live. It's going to be a lifestyle. Maybe I go
Yeah.
every morning, or I go every evening, or I go to, I build it into myself. I don't have to think
Yeah.
that. Do I have to go to the gym today? Like I know what I do on Tuesdays. I know what I do on Wednesdays. So what I do is, and I continually refine it. There are times things might get a bit kind of, pear shaped that I have to sit down and review my timetable. So
Yeah.
that's what I do. And there are times I suffer from distractions from my cellular as well. So, and what I do, because I don't like the feeling of emptiness after Salah, and when I suffer from concentration on my Salah, that's how I feel. That
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've prayed. So what I would do is I will pick up my Mus'haf, like my Quran. I will read the Quran during my Salah, so that I wouldn't have a choice, and I will always read the surah that I haven't memorized, so that I will be forced to concentrate to read the
Yeah.
Quran during the Salah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So these are
Yeah.
there's no Superman, Ridwan. That's that we're all going through stuff. We just know how to manage it better than each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to put structures in place. We have to put those things in place, and then not having a plan isn't the end of the game. It's just a start. You have to protect your plan. I said I have a timetable, and I call him my boss. If I don't make him my boss, I can easily ignore it because I
Yeah.
wrote it. Nobody's going to chastise me at this point to say, why didn't you do that? You know what I mean? Even the kids will be happy if I'm not telling them to go do certain stuff. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I have written a timetable that I have subjected myself to. I have allowed the timetable to be my boss. So, and I know if I continue to do what's in that timetable, I'm going to be a better father. I'm going to be a better Muslim. I'm going to be a better professional, and I'm going to have a balanced life, a healthy life. I inculcated every aspect of my life into that timetable, and I made it my boss.
Okay.
Do I go left sometimes? Yes. I just make sure the times I go right are more than the times I go left.
Yeah.
But I have a timetable.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. No, I,
I've never
I
been asked
appreciate
question
that.
on this on this. So you're the first person asking me
I
question
said,
on
let me
this
switch
thing.
it up.
Yeah,
No,
that's
but
that that that.
it's things that kind of they help me. So I
Yeah,
just said
it's
I'd rather
just
have the chance. Yeah, I'd
yeah,
rather have the
it's
chance. I'd
it
ask.
is
Yeah.
what it is. Like you're not alone. Even the seemingly well grounded amongst us suffer. When it comes to the faith, sometimes it goes
Yeah.
really up and sometimes it goes really down. But when it goes down, we don't just hope that it comes back up. When we're broke, we don't hope we have money. We go get the job done. We go pick extra shifts. I mean,
Yeah.
shift and stuff like that. I mean, we do something to make sure the situation changes, right? The same thing
Yeah.
with the iman. When it goes down, we have to do something. You know,
Yeah.
during winter, yeah, when the night comes really quickly, you should be fasting because it's a shorter day. Then it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to rake in more reward. And
Yeah.
during summer, when the days are longer, then read more Quran because maybe fasting might be a bit difficult. Then read more Quran. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does it have to be 1 hour Quran? No, maybe you want maybe 10 minutes here and there, but make it consistent. If I'm going to be reading Quran, it's going to be 10 minutes before bedtime. I'm going to put it on my in my timetable. Then I know this time. This is I'm supposed to be reading the Quran. You know,
Yeah.
I let my timetable be my boss, so that I
Yeah.
can consistently do what I need to do.
No, definitely. I will take note of that.
I appreciate. And then lastly, Redwan, what are your hopes
Okay.
for the future in terms of your own practice of Islam and for the Muslim community as a whole?
Okay. So hopes for myself. I really want to go to Hajj. That's one thing that I hope to do in the next year and a half. Let's say it's something that I plan on doing. And then in the more so near future, I really want to like study the Quran in English, get a real understanding from back to front, and be able to like take notes, etc. Like really understand what the Quran is saying. So I think that's my and as well as that to be consistent with my prayer. So I think they will be my three main goals, both immediate and in the future. Um, my hopes for the future or the Muslim community as a whole. I just really want to see the grow in the Muslim community. I've had some friends who have converted from Christian to Islam, and it's something that I'm very proud of. And I just want to continue to see that grow. I'm very proud of my religion. I I really believe my religion and Muslims are very prideful and respectful of their religion. It's not a religion that you typically would see being joked around or like being taken out. So it's something that I'm very proud of, and I hope that remains. Um, so yeah, that would be my near goals and goals for the future, and also what I hope for the Islamic community. I hope that continues to grow. I hope we get more people into the religion, and the information just becomes more and more accessible to us.
Yeah. May Allah make it easy. And, I've
I
always,
mean,
look forward to the time, like, people like you will be more than people like us in the masjid, like taking over and really, doing stuff, not just being an audience, actually leading and then organizing stuff and making stuff happen in the community. Because, at the end of the day, I'm looking at it 20 years from now, we're
Yeah,
probably retired or planning to retire or something like that. But then that's going to be you guys' turn. So now it's not the
yeah,
time to play, it's time to put in the work, get the knowledge so that you can take the baiting from us when the time is ripe,
yeah.
that kind of a thing. So, but in
And yeah, that's
terms of,
something.
yeah, go on.
Sorry. Yeah, and that's something I actually really used to think about that. Like, I'd say it probably would have been like 5 years ago. And I kind of look around in the mosque and I'm like, a lot of us weren't really religious. We were kind of just there because maybe our family was there. And I'm like, I really used to think it's like, what's this mosque going to look like in the next generation? But it's something that I'm more hopeful about now because looking at myself and my friends, I could see our belief in our religion has definitely gone stronger in the last 5, 10 years. So it's something that I'm hopeful that will continue, you know.
Inshallah.
So as you said, like you guys will be passing the baton on to us. So
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully it'll be smooth.
May I make it easy? And that,
Um,
that that tells you this time is not for play. This time is to getting the job done, like getting the knowledge,
yeah,
getting ready, and then so the transfer will be smooth.
yeah,
you know,
inshallah,
yeah. So
inshallah.
there's this app I saw on TikTok the other day. Somebody was talking about it. It's called the Clear Quran audiobook, which I downloaded. Like it's just
Okay,
plain English. And the way people
okay,
kind of talk, this meditation thing, like some of the
yeah,
meditation app, they talk like make you sleep and sound
yeah,
so cool and nice. This
yeah.
is the way the Quran was done. Like no Arabic in it. It's just plain English, and then you can just plug it in and then just kind of relax, and it's
Okay,
so calm. It's called the Clear Quran audio book. So if
okay.
you want, go look it at and kind of download it, and I'll make it beneficial.
Clear Quran audiobook.
Yeah, the Clear Quran audio book. Yeah. So yeah.
We'll look into that. Yeah.
So, Ridwan, what's the one thing that you would have want to say that I didn't get to ask, and that you would like to get out there for people like yourself?
What I would say is be strong in your faith. Definitely ask questions. Ask questions always, and like read the Quran and understand the messages there. Um, that would be the main thing, really. It's really hard for us because of the way we live, the way we're kind of used to live. It's not kind of normal for us to pray. Like if we were to if I was to go to Nigeria, it's very normal. You hear the adhan, everyone goes to pray at the same time. It's very different over here. So I think that discipline is really important for us, and we just need to be able to get up and do it and ask these questions, use the people around us, to make us better Muslims. So that would be my message. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ridwan. It's
I
really
appreciate
nice having you on here. It's been
I
an hour
appreciate you.
talking, and then
Yeah.
it wasn't even boring at all, and it was really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I really
No,
do appreciate your time. So
I appreciate
people,
that.
until next time, don't,
Perfect. I'd love to
don't,
be here again soon.
mashallah, may Allah make it easy. Assalamu
Amen.
alaikum.
Walaikum salam.